Okay, dueling. Alrighty, so this is now 314S. We have gone straight to plaid, so I don't know why I'm walking so slow. Okay, scroll wheel is a wonderful thing. I'm back on Orison this go around. I decided to go into the PTU, and this is a Xenothreat test that's happening this weekend. Yes, I said this weekend, and that is a sign to me that live is still a ways away, unfortunately, at least next week. So, I'm wrong. Eric, if you're listening, you're wrong. Our predictions that other folks have had. Um, no, if you talk to me privately, I'm not going to call you out. Sorry, but some other predictions that I've heard, most were wrong. One conservative estimate was probably close to what's going to happen. Next week it's looking like. So they said they did some tuning on the Xenothreat. Um, there isn't that much information on what exactly is tuned. So what I'm planning to do is attempt to go do some box runs and whatnot, as long as I have a tractor beam tool. I'm gonna actually try to take this seriously, because I always do, but there's there's like, I can kind of do something, and there's actually like, I'm going to go do something. I really don't know the difference between these undersuits, actually. I don't know what the heck the Lamants are. Oh, that's the leather ones. That is the leather ones. Those are useless. Why not? Let's do the Pembroke. So we picked up the Pembroke armor in the last video. If you saw the CRU L1 hang station tour, and let's find out if that's where we're at in it today. I am going to throw on this Pembroke gear. Can't hurt. I mean, in the future, it's actually going to matter if you have heavy armor, light armor, medium armor on. But for now, you can kind of do whatever you want, really. You can kind of just have some fun with it and mix and match. Sometimes I do just for the heck of it. That mask looks fearsome, doesn't it? Let's have some kind of weapon. There's a good get off me weapon, if I've ever seen one. If it would ever load. And let's throw in a standard multi-tool. Remember, I purchased 3 of those in the last play session for very specific reasons. Plain and simple. You're going to lose them. If you have that out and you die, and you can't be able to get back to your body, you will not be able to put a new one on. So it's something to think about. Interesting that they use the Pyro RYT multi-tool battery. But right now, I just need one of my 6 tractor beam attachments. By the way, these are really cheap. Like I mentioned before, buying a few of these, if you don't want to see that other video, that's cool. Just understand you want to buy a few of these. Don't just buy one, and buy a couple of the multi-tools. The tractor beams are great. The mining attachments are great. The cutter is kind of a meme. It's only in one... It was only in one mission. So what you need to think about is, am I ever going to even see that mission, if it's even still in the game? Eventually the cutter will be in its real glory, but that ain't today. That's for sure. They're talking about like the cutter will be used to cut locks on doors and bunker missions and other kinds of exciting things. Even like on player ships, be able to cut a hole in a wall to be able to get safe out to safety or attack. So both as an offensive and defensive tool, at least one member of your group should really have one down the line. Right now, we are not down the line. So the mining tool and the tractor beam are really the shiners. Tractor beam in my case, because I'm betting that I'm going to be on a box mission if we do have a Xenothreat mission to do. CDF dually, Civilian Defense Force dually, reached out to us, and she said that they need anybody available. So let's see if we can answer the call.
Please clear the hatch. Shuttle will be departing.
So if you look at this heavy armor, like many of their heavy armors, it kind of blocks some of these areas. You can still click on these, but obviously you'd have to kind of search a little bit. So I'm gonna see what's going on here. CEF needs us. Yep, box mission. Let's accept the offer.
Special Agent Dooley, glad to see you're joining the CDF again. I've sent over the op details to get you started. Good luck out there. Dooley out.
Naval Station Jericho. So in the last weekend's playtest of Xenothreat, a lot of the action was at the Crusader Lagrange points. In particular, Crusader L1 was one of the major ones, as the station that was actually attacked in the final part of the game. However, the box missions, I do not think were there. And things kind of melt together for me, but this time they won't. You know why? Because I'm making video of it. The entire dang thing. Win, lose, or go home, I'm going to make video of it. How much of that actually ends up, in a YouTube clip? That's a topic for another day. But at least I'll have video, and my plan is to just go through these video clips, put them together, and then I'll be able to at least see what's going on in each playtest, and then I'll have the leg up in the live, be able to position myself in a good spot, maybe even get some small groups together, have some fun with it. So you're experiencing this directly with me. This is the latest playtest. They said they tweaked it heavily, and this weekend is a Xenothreat playtest on the PTU. If you need to know how to get on the PTU, at the end of this video there's a card on how to get there. I'll also put a FAQ, or at least the questions. I think the guide leads to the FAQ, so I'll put the guide up in the link in the description below as well for the official how to get on the PTU page, just in case you haven't been through that process yet. It's not that hard. It is not big on your bandwidth. It's a few gigs to download. It is big on your hard drive. Understand that it temporarily would need about 70 gigs worth of space, 75 gigs of space tops. If you can't, you're playing the New World or any of the other cool games out there right now, and you don't have the space, I get it. But understand that it's a short prospect. I've been trying to explain this to org mates and friends that, you're only going to be on the PTU for a few days, and then you delete that. And please remember to delete it, because that's just wasted space until the next PTU comes out. But anyway, you make a copy of your live account and bring it over to the PTU. That's simple. And yeah, it takes a little bit of time because it's a lot of files, but you'll bring it over, and the guy will explain that. I also have a video on that. Like I said, I'm going to have in the card at the end of this video, and I'll try to actually link it in this part of the video as well, if I remember to. But I would say that the PTU is pretty stable right now. I think we're towards the end. I am so confident I'm going to bring out that 600i Explorer again. I am that confident that we are that close to the end. That is pretty daring for those who have seen my other adventures. It seems like every time I pull out one of these 600i's, all heck breaks loose. Like this. That does not look sus at all. So while we're fighting with elevators, I will kind of go through the PTU patch notes. So there's been 2 patches since I've covered the patch notes, and remember we're at such a deep interval now that the best way to handle this is have them next to each other. So I'm gonna have a link below to the direct patch notes, but let's just kind of go through them. If I have them up, on the right side will be the older one. Actually, no, sorry. On the right side this time it'll be the newer one, and on the left it'll be the older one, because that's the way I'm reading them on my screen next to me. So if you're seeing a pop-up and they're next to each other, that's how they are. If they're not, I'll go out of my way to make sure you see that they're R and S. Either way, you will know what's going on. So on the R notes, the older patch from like 2 days ago, we still see the same focuses as today's patch that I'm on right now, the current patch. There is the push to test Orison, Crusader in general, the Taurus, the Law System 2 surrender, power management capacitor gameplay, Mr. Operator mode, radar scanning, and ping tier 0. Now, what I'll add to that is the testing focus this weekend is Xenothreat. So it's kind of a surprise that the person or team that created this patch notes did not mention that in here, because that's actually, you know, it's part of the probably the entire life cycle of this PTU. A patch is going to be through this Xenothreat test. But maybe their thought is maybe it won't be, maybe the test won't work out. Who knows? I don't know. But what I can say is a lot of the known issues are the same. Like we talked about, the testing focuses are basically identical, except for the fact that this weekend is Xenothreat, so testing with the tweaked Xenothreat. So technically the S patch has the Xenothreat testing on top of it, at least in this weekend frame of mind. Now, sometimes they won't add that as one of the testing focuses, probably because they're not quite sure how long this test will be. This patch may stay up, you know, an extra day or two or something. Who knows? Or, especially if the new PTUs fail, when they go to...
CDF? Just heard from the Navy quartermaster. They haven't had a supply drop recently. Let's keep them coming.
Sounds good, Dooley. And also, they may have an issue like the first Xenothreat test 2 weekends ago, where they thought they were going to have this big test and get all this data, and it turned out there was a ton of desync issues, like 3 different major desync issues that Bayer covered in his request in the general forum, his basically call to arms to the players to all get out there and basically break the servers on purpose, you know, just by playing them in groups and see if you can get these desync issues and have the information on hand and prepare videos or some and file those issue council reports on these issues. So that's kind of where we were at with that. So last weekend Xenothreat, I guess, was not enough data, or they didn't feel confident in the Xenothreat performance, so they need one another weekend of these testing, and that's what we're trying to give them. Now, the players still cannot log out in the bed safely. As both patches note, players may experience an infinite loading when rejoining the PU after a bed logout. And also, editing your PMA after changing mobiGlas case prevents mobiGlas functionality. Reminder again, no matter how much you want to, do not go to the New Babbage factory line store for Microtech and purchase the mobiGlas colored cases for now, just for now. Flares still don't work on the latest patch, as they didn't in the previous patches, many patches, and ships are not fully repaired after they visit the vehicle management system on pads. So like even if you dock at a station and you go and you spend the hard-earned UEC to repair and refuel your ship, you probably won't have the full work done. And something new for these 2 patches is fan-made localizations will not function. Now, I have not had a chance to be able to confirm what this means,
Tier 20, we need your help out here.
but what I believe this means is basically the fan-made localizations would be like the text-based information. If you have a dialect that's not covered officially by Star Citizen yet, that's what I inferred from that, but I can't be certain. I don't know enough about those. I've never heard of a fan-made localization, to be honest. Just, that was my best guess. So with bug fixes, in the patch R, they fixed the Saber's lights. So I don't think that's what people were asking for when they asked for Saber to be fixed. Like we've already told the devs multiple times, the Saber's not doing too hot. It really needs a buff of some sort. It really needs to be looked at or get its maneuverability buffed. Especially with the the stealth gameplay. It's a semi-stealth ship, or supposedly a reduced signature ship. It's not really shining through too much yet with that. Size 2 sledge weapons should no longer be invisible. That was on patch R, which is nice. And they also fixed an issue causing the visor UI drop shadow not to function. So that's really cool. Now, in the S patch, the one we're on now, they covered that they had major bug fixes, where they note that they fixed an issue that was causing many players to get the 30,009 errors, which they also said they fixed in the R. So I'm not quite sure how to make of that. I'm guessing that they fixed some of it in the R and they thought they got it all. And then, unfortunately, in the S, they had some other method of that happening, and they had to address it in another way. Maybe, just maybe, we should point the ship straight up. I should have paid attention to these degree headers nowadays that are on here. It's a little better. Just maybe. I should pay attention to the new HUD once in a while instead of just talking about it, right? So, we're getting pretty far along. The patch notes there's only a couple left. As we talked about, they claim they fixed the 30,009 errors twice now. That says to me you might still face it, but hopefully most of the ways that it's possible is gone. The newest patch, they fixed an issue causing players unable to use all aspects of the social systems. That's good. They also had ships' radars that are actually readable. Apparently they had issues with them being blurry and pixelated. Once again, that seems to be a cleanup job, and I'm glad to see it. I'm still looking at that known issue list, and I'm seeing some stuff I'm really nervous about, like players unable to buy and trade commodities at admin and TDD terminals. That's a huge hit to haulers and folks trying to do ways to make money in general. Even if you're not like a hardcore, I haul, with the biggest cat or herc I can get my hands on, I still think that they need to fix that ASAP. Another one that's really glaring to me is an older issue of not being able to log out in a bed. We've talked about this many, many times, but being able to log out in a bed means I wouldn't have to do this right now. I would be able to log out in space and be able to log back in and reliably not be logged back in a station or on planet side or in the future moon side at an outpost of some sort. You need to be able to log out in the bed. The whole reason the bed's there is because it's supposed to be selling you that feature. In fact, it's funny to point this out, but in smaller ships, you're basically making the ship slower. Or you're reducing its capabilities, or you're making it a fatter ship for no good reason. That bed takes up space. That bed could have been extra ammunition. That bed could have been extra cooler or something, or computer blades. Like, I understand that ships are balanced in different ways, but that bed is taken into account. And that also includes the cost, both in-game and in the ship store on the RSI website. That bed is considered a feature. That bed is considered utility. So by taking that bed away from ships, it effectively makes them a little worse, than their non-bed companions. Especially when you're talking about endurance or players that want to RP, living on the side of a moon and exploring this one specific set of caves and anything like that. It doesn't matter if you play that way or not. They may want to, and you're basically taking that opportunity away from them. So it's just like, that would have been an easy win, to have folks be able to start getting more and more immersed into the game by being able to log off in their ships. Okay, so now that we're actually in warp, I had to bounce around L1 and all sorts of interesting things. We're going to get over there. So what I'm seeing is the folks on this server are saying that playing solo on this is very difficult. The Xenothreat spawns are kind of calibrated for the server, and they're expecting like a dozen players to show up. We're not that. We're one person on a 600i. So, 3 size 5 guns, fixed forward, a bunch of size 3 missiles, 4 racks of them, and 2 size 3 shields, which should help. I'll make it a little less squishy. And apparently very slow for some reason today, though. We'll see what we can do. Let's see if we can get some damage done. So, you know, like I was saying about these patches, the R and the S, I would say that I'm happy to see the technical section is really getting big. I'm just saying again that the communication is not really there, unfortunately. Like, we're just seeing fixed one server crash, not one additional word explaining what the server crash was. On the R patch, I appreciate that one of the lines actually says fixed a back-end issue that could cause 30,009 errors to occur. So looking at this again, I can see that okay, they're working on it, and that's one of the things they adjusted to see if it was like an exploratory fix, to see if this could be everything, and this could be you know, only help a few people type of thing. And then I see major bug fixes in the S patch, another patch forward, fixed a service issue that was causing many players to get 30,009 errors. Now, this could be the same. They're attacking these issues and problems that are affecting a lot of players in multiple directions, which is smart. But it's also one of those things where you step back and you go, the technical team really is not communicating very much of what they're experiencing. And I still stand by that. I say that's strange. You know, I think of like the movie Office Space, where there's the one character, the person who talks to the incoming customers, because the engineers aren't people, and he's like, "What is wrong with you people?" And he screams at the Bobs about how, you know, they just don't get it and this and that, and he's clearly losing his mind in like 5 minutes. I kind of think of that in this situation. Like, maybe we need a guy like that, maybe not yelling, but, you know, somebody who's willing to talk a bit more with the community, you know, just write these up and has that type of background. And I know you're probably wondering, like, why is he talking like that? But there is people that talk with the community, and they talk with the community quite often. I did a whole video on Sylvan CIG with his incredible passion for VR, and how he's one of the guys who's doing. He's a developer of the entire. He's working on the Gen 12 and the entire rendering capabilities of the game. He's a game engine developer in the truest sense of the word. And I mean, if a guy like that can't answer your questions about what's going on with the game engine, I don't know who else could. I'm sure he could speak server a little bit. I'm no IT expert, though. I mean, I've always been on the fringes of IT. That's kind of my bag, I guess, part of it, of many hats I have to wear in the jobs that I've done. But I can't help but think, like, find folks like that are already, like, you know, they're already in tune with the community. They understand it. There's a lot. And then I look at these patch notes and I'm like, well, who wrote these? Why didn't one of those guys write these? Or just, you know, maybe just, you know, chat with the team, or Slack, or whatever, you know, your folks choose to use, you know, as your internal system, and kind of chat with them for a few minutes and be like, hey, what did you mean by back-end services optimizations? Oh, well, we meant that because we're trying to optimize some of the services queuing up for bringing a ship in. Oh, okay. Or, hey, it's just any object. You know, just mention that it's about objects. Oh, okay. You can be broad. It's okay. But just something more. I feel like the technical section, I've been hammering on this a little bit, maybe a little unfair, maybe, I don't know. So, I mean, if you feel that way, mention it in the comments, or hit me up on Discord, you know, and chat with me for a little bit if you think I should lay off the technical team a little bit. But I think that the team there, like, they have something, they've done all the work, and then they every time they deliver it, it's just, I stare at a numbing, my eyes glaze over looking at the page. When I look at the old patch notes, I look at the new patch notes, and I look at them, they're completely the same thing. It's like ketchup and catsup. I just, It's like, you know, the old Simpsons joke. I don't know what the difference is, and because I don't have any frame of reference, I can't see that developments that your teams are getting done. And I'd imagine they're busting their gut to get this done, of course. So, you know, let them get a little bit of a nod there at least. I'm not saying, you know, we got to know exactly who's doing what, but so that's kind of where I'm at with that. Uh, there is an interesting development now. So CIG has directly sent out a teaser photo, and I'm just gonna call him by name because CIG has directly kind of played with him, you know, with this type of stuff. Hater over on SC Leaks has Hater 115 has said that he believes it is the infamous, the ship that must not be named, the 400i, or if you take a look at the dev's invisible ship.
Just heard from the Navy quartermaster. They haven't had a supply drop recently. Let's keep them coming.
The 404 not found, which was launched on April 1st as a joke, and the ship that was invisible is either the ship that he was and other.
Recommends checking in with the medical staff at the rest stop before heading out. That way, we can have you covered if anything goes wrong.
As soon as the cooldown's going over, I'm not even gonna bother stopping at that station. If I blow up, I blow up. I'm just gonna go over. So, the teams that found this information, or whatever it is.
Welcomes you to INS Jericho. Don't have much time for pleasantries though, so I'll get right to it. They docked the Javelin here to resupply it, but Xenothreat are now targeting our supply ships to stop that from happening. We could use your help tracking down any of our destroyed ships and grabbing whatever supplies you find.
I guess I don't have time for drama, so I'm just gonna make it clear. CIG put out an official communication that had a hint at the bottom. One of the emails had a hint at at what it looks to be, and I do agree with this. It does look to be an origin thruster of some sort on a ship that does not look to be in the game yet. So that is why it seems to be the long fabled 400i, the 404, whichever you want to call it, or another type of origin ship. It could be very well that it's not anything to do with those ships. But the gist is there's a lot of interesting discussion over on their Discord about this topic right now. Like I said, I don't really cover heavily anything like that, and I try to stick just to rumors. Nothing, you know, data mined or something like that, but it's pretty compelling. I would say that there is a chance that that's the surprise ship. So we'll see. So I saw a friendly retaliator here when I first got here. feel like one of my key bindings is off. Cycle friendly targets. Cycle all targets. Just... Huh. Alright.
Now to put your scanner to good use. Xenothreat attacked a few of our supply ships nearby, and we lost touch with them. Search the area for wreckage and pick up any supply crates you might find. And remember to stay vigilant. There's a good chance Xenothreat might still be lurking in the area.
Nice
Coming
use.
up on one of the wrecks. I'd suggest scanning the debris if you haven't already. Xenothreat want these supplies as badly as we do, so you never know who's lurking on there or how many supplies are left aboard. Known contact headed for the station. It's big, like a cap ship. I need all combat CDF forces to get to Jericho, now.
Okay. It's kind of cool to see the Taurus out here in action. Doing what it really is born to do. Kind of be a multi-role transport that can also fight. It's kind of cool. So,
Jericho any second now. Let's get that support inbound and lend a hand.
if this is like last time, it was an Idris that they brought out. She did kind of drop a hint about it could be a cap ship. It's big. There's all the friendlies out right now. Tally, Hawk, Hurricane, Cuddy Black, and of course the Javelin. So in this box phase, they're going to have multiple people that are kind of like a response force that kind of hold the station, and then another group that does the boxes. That's based on what I'm seeing here.
Eyes on the hostile Idris.
That's an Idris, okay. Hey, this is Future Editing Self here, just letting you guys and gals know that
There we go.
I was trying to test flares here
Close
and chaff on the Idris based on missile lock and missile firing. if you notice, I'm locking and unlocking and dumbfiring and also shooting directly, one at a time, the missiles. And honestly, in the future, I would likely prefer to utilize the missiles in like batches of 2 or 3 and not use them on the Idris. Not use them on the Idris. You can see all that chaff creates a lot of noise, and you have a lot of desire to like make use of that time between your laser cannons reloading or your regular weapons reloading on your guns, but in all honesty, those missiles are probably better served on the support ships for the Idris. The Idris doesn't come alone. I have 2 size 3 shields on the 600i, so I can kind of ignore the little guys as long as the Idris is not shooting at me.
You don't
also,
say.
those triangles, you should pay attention to them heavily. One of the things that I was doing through this, sometimes it looks like I'm not even shooting the Idris. Sometimes it's just me missing, but sometimes it's also me shooting the dang missiles, because you have to keep on top of them. There's a lot of damage coming off of that ship. Also, Dooley will give you warnings where she'll start calling, the Idris is charging its main gun, the Idris is firing its main gun.
Well, this is that
I did not
cycling
see it,
we
but I've
talked about
heard
before.
accounts from people that even in the most recent test, that sometimes that
Where the
main
guns are
gun
on
is not
cooldown.
being shot at the jab.
So I'm switching
Although the
back
jab
to the
is the
missiles.
primary target of the Idris, of course, and the main gun is the one that does the most damage.
should probably be
Remember,
firing just
the
the whole
main
loads
gun
of
is
4 at a
spinal.
time.
So
I'm
if
so
somehow,
freaking
some way, it
close.
decides to pick you as its favorite target,
That's-
it has missiles it's firing. It has side batteries like small turrets. And then it also has that spinal gun. Stay away from the front of the Idris if at all possible, especially if you're in something small. There's those chaff again going off. Some of the guys are calling them party favors already. So just some thoughts. I just wanted to add that in so you have a better experience when you come out to play with the Xenothreat event. And once again, try to conserve your missiles. Use them sparingly. Use them on support fleet where they're really going to matter, where you can just wallop a support ship off the field with 2 or 3 size 3 missiles.
Fountain just exploded right next to me. It's me dumping a bunch of chaff and flares that aren't going to work. Well, at least the flares won't work. So I'm searching, I'm searching, I'm searching, I'm searching.
Let's take care of the support ships first. That Idris is getting ready to shoot. About a quarter of their forces have been eliminated. That's still a lot of Xenothreat left. Keep going. Enemy forces are looking severely depleted. Barely half of them left. Nice work.
So this is what I was talking about before about missile racks. In a match, like in something that requires endurance, you end up in this situation where the missile racks are not as important because I'm just sitting here and just pounding away on this ship, and now it's more about the guns and how much ammunition I have available to me. The lasers, sure, you know, they can reload on their own. You can see it on the right side there, but at the same time, there's only so much that you can get away with this. Eventually, they will reload unless you clamp down on it. Oh, that was a nice hit. I think it's about to pop if it isn't already. Looks like it's going into an animation. Or spinning uncontrollably. Or is it going to try to run?
Refocus fire on the support ships.
I love how nobody's bothering to focus fire on the support ships. And you can see now there's a lot more people. There's an Eclipse. It's a nice Vanguard right there. So you can get a bit more power on the guns. Help them recharge faster. As I explained before, there is an ammunition. It's basically this laser ammunition that will allow you to reload faster if you give them more of the power triangle. So there's
Focus fire on the support ships. Idris's main gun is activating.
see if we can get that on video. The ammunition is basically like an
Back.
nice. Don't know how I screwed that up that bad, but hey. There'll be another Xenothreat. There'll always be another Xenothreat. There'll always be another Idris. An Idris to kill. Just to recap, the weapons that I actually used in that fight were the 3 size 5s right here. Don't want to shoot too much. I don't want to accidentally hit somebody. But those 3 size 5s have reasonable damage, and the dual size 3 shields on board this ship kept me alive. With a little bit of damage was coming in. I mean, technically, probably most ships would have stayed alive, but it doesn't hurt. The 4 missile racks, the ones that you can kind of see peeking out of those dorsals there on the sides, those empty out. So you might want to save those for the support fighters and the support stuff once it gets heavier, especially in the next phase. I've heard it can get pretty hectic and get pretty intense. So let's say you just finished up this fight. You used up all your missiles. You have some, maybe even have some damage, etc., etc. What are you going to do? Well, the answer is you would resupply. There's a reason that Jericho is right next door to, I believe it's this place. Yeah, 32,000 kilometers away. So Jericho is right next door to MICL1. You would go over to the station, and even though the vehicle management system doesn't work properly, it still works okay. So we talked about in the patch notes that vehicle management is kind of acting up.
Get back here as soon as you can.
Dooley is running a tight ship over there. Yes, ma'am. So ships are not fully being repaired and refueled in the VMS. I will show you a workaround for at least for the repairing of the ship itself, unless they've changed that as well. Okay, I'm just gonna go over there. I don't know why this is taking so long. Notice I'm making use of the boost system. If you haven't been watching a few videos already, that's not the boost system. That was a quantum that properly finally worked. But the boost system is this. So replacing the afterburner on the left side of the HUD, there is a boost system now. This is replacing the afterburner. It is not exactly the same. It takes a second to spool up, but once it kicks, it's really long now. Until you hit that red, it goes all the way from 0 to 100, but it doesn't want you to go all the way into the red. The more you go into the red, the much longer it takes for that boost to properly recharge. So that is not this part right here, this red and white part here. I would ignore this unless you're in Atmo. Your engines could overheat easily if you don't have it all ticked up. But in the boost system that only appears when you hold down shift, that right there is quite the handful. It is very powerful. It is interesting. It takes a long time to recharge, especially if you accidentally let it go into the red, or you have to let it go into the red, desperately trying to avoid a torp or get away from an enemy or something. But if you notice, like, it's not doing very much for me with this velocity stuff until I go back into W yet again, even though I was holding W that whole time. There seems to be these changes now when you change direction. If you change, like, on a dime 180 degrees, then you just take your finger off the key for a second, it seems to think like you want to park there or something. It's like, no, I don't. It's like the thrusters want to keep you buoyancy neutral or something. That is one of the avocations for not having coupled mode on all the time, by the way. But oh, and even if you're at 0, you can waste boost. I think it's because, well, there's two schools of thought. If you're a cynic, you'd say, oh, that's because they haven't adjusted it. They haven't coded that in, where if you're already not in a... if you're already not in a... Dooley, I am doing stunts over here. Also, this isn't the real Dooley. We're on a test server. So, I mean, I guess we're exempt. It's like the Matrix. She's Agent Smith number 25 or something. But anyway, with a lot of these things, you can get yourself into trouble really quick. You almost just saw me crash into a station, for goodness sake. And I'm going to leave that in, because I want you to see how much power that boost has, even on a ship like this. This ship can pull, and it's like a boat. When it gets going, it doesn't stop on a dime, that's for sure. And you just saw hydrogen fuel 75%. Between the fight and me just doing some maneuvers over here, and, well, exiting Atmo, to be fair, too.
Please proceed to assigned landing bay.
It adds up. It adds up pretty sizably. To a point where you start saying, like, hey, what exactly am I doing with these type of ships? I think that they want to start making you have to determine when you should use the correct size ship. You shouldn't just be breaking out, you know, a 600i or a Carrack or even a Connie for like, you know, a box run, for example. I'm just picking like the silliest, you know, something for that size ship would be silly. Like, even if you had bigger ships, you'd say, look, I want to run that. That would make more sense to run that with something that would be more suitable for that mission. You know, just like you would use a bigger ship and say, I'm not going to run it with a smaller ship if I have both options. So I think they're trying to encourage that, but I don't know how much that's going to work out. So the vehicle management system, while you're still sitting in the seat, you go to VMS on the Moby Glass for F1, and you can see it's not that much money for what you're getting. And don't forget, you're getting paid, by the way, with the CDF. You're just for being on those fights and collecting boxes and stuff. You get paid just for existing, basically. Sorry, I didn't click the little button. So I was so busy telling you about the VMS, I didn't actually use the VMS. So here we go. This will actually cost you that much in UEC. That'll cost you that much in UEC. That'll cost you that much in UEC, and that much. Once you have them all selected, you just hit confirm. Now, once again, the odds of you actually getting fully restocked are pretty slim. So let's see. Let's give it a few seconds.
Landing complete. Have a pleasant stay.
I mean, it thinks it just landed, for goodness sake. I've been sitting here on my pads for a while. About a minute or two. So these are not available because the game thinks they're full. You know, I think for the missiles I'm not being fair because I think you have to actually go to the store and buy those. There we go. I'm nice and fueled up. So I'm going to pull a wild card here, and I'm going to do a walkabout of this station. I think that knowing your place
First supply drop has been received. Good work.
with these places is a good thing. I'm going to at least go to the ASOP terminal. That's my grand master plan here. And I'll show you why in a moment. If this elevator would ever exit. So if you're on the test server, you have a whole bunch of ships to choose from, no matter if you have a lot of ships or not. If you're on the live server, you may only have one good combat ship or one ship you truly want to play that day, you really love. And in order to get that ship set up, if the fuel system's not functioning at all, if it's fighting you tooth and nail, there is one other trick at your disposal. So you would go to the ASOP terminal of this station, and you would store the ship, and then you would bring it back out. The idea with that, at least in the past, it used to completely replenish the ship from the ground up. Every single thing on the ship was like a brand new ship again. Now, nowadays, I believe it's both missiles and torps are not replenished. And there's a lot of things that are not replenished anymore on these ships, as they're stored and put back away and stored and then brought back out. But if you have a glitched VMS, this may be an alternative to having to like destroy the whole ship just to get in there and out of there. I can see a lot of people here. Sorry, I did not mean to invite him. Seems like a cool guy though. So I would store the ship here. And then I would retrieve it again. And don't hesitate to do this. I have yet to see a glitch of that in years where you can't trust that your ship will come back out. You might have to click it once or twice more, but it's not like it'll go into some sort of limbo. And remember, try to use the vehicle management system as you possibly can. Go into the Mobiglass. Try to buy as much stuff as possible through the VMS. Once again, missiles, you're probably going to have to go... You know, I think it's the weapon stores on these stations that cover the missile sales, or at least on the stations. In the main hubs, they have like their own like ship mod. Most of the time, they have ship mod like purchasing areas. And that would also have like the missiles and some other stuff. You can see that I was just awarded 2,000 UEC for basically just existing here. It is worth mentioning though that you can't rely on this. You can't rely on that elevator, especially when I'm being silly. My finger is on the G key, not the F key apparently. And then I rolled the S and D keys thinking they were other ones. But anyway, you can't rely on just sitting here. You know, like don't expect to be able to just sit outside the station and just collect these payments. That somebody has to be doing all the work in order for these to do anything. So it's in your interest to constantly at least be killing the incoming Xenothreat and allow the folks that are trying to actually go get the boxes and make that extra cred and the reputation and everything succeed. I'm not gonna BS you. There is some folks that think it's funny to grief these type of games modes. There are people who will like literally wait until somebody fills their ship with boxes and then attempt to take over the ship or hurt them and then take the boxes. I I don't know. I would say that the vast majority of people I'm running into that are into combat, I'm not saying they're like the most they're super honorable people or something, but they seem to be all right. Like if you're just somebody running boxes, they're not really gonna come after you. Especially when there's a bunch of other players that are willing to attack.
You are clear to launch.
If they're committing crime stats and then they're open range, well, it gets interesting really fast. But yeah, MIC L1 Shallow Frontier Station should look familiar. If you've spent some time on stations, like virtually everybody in Star Citizen has, it's not a bad station. I'll do a more thorough rundown of the station later on when Xenothreat's not like in the middle of things. And to be really honest, I don't know if Xenothreat's going to continue forever.
That'll do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed the look at both patches and also the Xenothreat experience, little peek at that and how the Idris is coming along for the Idris fight. I was very happy I was able to capture the Idris fight and a ship that really can make a difference. I've been through it a couple times now with ships that are deliver their payload, and that's that. They have to go keep warping back and quantuming back and forth. That's not really the way you want to do it. Pick a ship with good sustain, with good defenses, and also good offense, and have a good time, of course. And if fight with what you got. If you're in a hauler, and you fight with it, preferably with a friend that can really make it come onto its own, because you got that extra damage from the turret. All right, have a good day, and everyone be safe.